Hi everybody, very warm welcome. My name is Ritu Sharma and I am from Kushale, UK, which is a registered not-for-profit community organization that empowers and uplifts women, but it also invites men to contribute. The main aim of the organization is to empower, connect communities, raise awareness of issues that affect women. And because they affect women, they certainly affect men as well. And it is to support women who are on a journey to create a life of fulfillment through their personal, professional, and financial growth. Our projects include personal, professional development under education, health and well-being, domestic abuse awareness and support for victims. And we also run a Let's Talk Happiness in-person fortnightly events. So just before we start, can I ask everyone to please mute their mics? There will be an opportunity to ask questions of the speakers when all of the speakers have spoken. So save your questions to the end, please. I will do my best to monitor the chat, so please, by all means, submit your questions there as well. You can tell I'm a bit restricted because this isn't my forte. This is what Carol does, and she does it so beautifully. So I'm also going to start live streaming on Facebook so that people who join us on Facebook can watch it now or later when they come back to it. It is preparing to live stream, and once it's done, I will introduce our first speaker and we will start. Okay. Right, it is live streaming on Facebook now. So kicking off this evening, super excited to introduce our first speaker, Lisa Edge. Lisa, mom of 4, grandmother of 2. Unbelievable, Lisa. Unbelievable. Grandmother of 2, foster carer and founder of GB Shared, the UK's first sustainable marketplace connecting the country county by county. Following a private sector career, Lisa spent 2 decades in the public sector as head of employer engagement before leaving to create Lancashire, a central point for her county's regional resources to be shared equally. She further launched a national youth platform in 2021. Now in 9 northern counties, Lisa won this year's Women in Innovation Award with Innovate UK, and in February 24, GB Shared relaunches nationally with a share site in every UK county. How wonderful is that, Lisa? The stage is yours. Please take it away.
Right, now I'm with you. Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, and much love and best wishes to Carol, who I know isn't 100% today. My name is Lisa Edge, and I did create the UK's first sustainable marketplace. So this is my journey, I guess, which I'm always happy to share. Sharing is key. I was born and bred in Bolton many moons ago, and just so that you can all link to that, grew up in the next street to Peter Kay. So you can imagine the kind of upbringing we had, filled with laughter and humour. Came from a family with 5 children. Most of my sisters grew up and left home, and that kind of left me and my brother as the last ones. And sadly, family breakdown, parents divorce, and I leave school without any qualifications. The council see fit to put me on the best shameless estate that Bolton had to offer, surrounded by drug dealers, alcoholics, thieves. And I stand there at 17 years old with a newborn baby, wondering what went wrong. I had no qualifications, no prospects, and no way out. And when my son was born, it gave me every reason to, well, make a change and get up and make a difference. I went down to Bolton College. I signed up for training courses. In fact, I begged a lady there, please get me off that estate. People are trying to pull me into all sorts. Just train me up, then I can get a job. And kindly, she took her time with me to find out what I enjoyed, what I was good at. She put my son in creche and she set me off on typing clerical shorthand. I did 3 years at Bolton College and got a job working for Norweb. Some of you will recognise that name. Pre-United Utilities, it's the old electricity board, and that's where I found my first employment. I was personal assistant to the distribution director there, and that was my first world of work. I learned how to drive and pass my test and save up a deposit for a house, and I moved from Bolton as fast as my little legs would carry me. I bought a house in Darwin, which is just a stone's throw between Bolton and Blackburn, and eventually got married and had 3 more children. This left me as a full-time working mum of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. And as I looked around me, I thought, gosh, I've now got my own house, my own job, my own car, and I owe all of that to education. So I'm going to go back and get some more. So I juggled the before school, the after school, got the kids, the tea, homework, into bed and back off to night school, this time Blackburn College, where I embarked on accounting, bookkeeping. I did a level 5 in leadership, a management degree, a teaching qualification, a HND in computing, you name it, I did it. Whatever they would give me for free, I did. I trained over probably around about 10 years, if not longer. And eventually the college gave me a job because I was there more than the staff. That was some 20 odd years ago, and you could kind of get jobs a little bit better like that back then, not so much so now. But I moved into the public sector from the private sector and thoroughly enjoyed it. I was looking after European social fund monies and project allocations, and quickly realised I had a knack with employers. I started to look after the employer engagement division and the CRM system, and I just worked really hard to go out there across industry and talk to business and find out what the challenges were and what the frustrations were. In the colleges, I set up the employer forums, I did the employer-based curriculum, I was responsible for health and safety of students, apprenticeships, commercial provision and that kind of thing. But in the main, I spent almost 2 decades talking to employers across Lancashire. And every employer I met, regardless of shape, size, background, sector, had the same challenges. Where's the funding? Where's the jobs? Where's the events? Where's the graduates? How do I get into public sector contracts and tenders? And as I was into public sector, I felt that it was my place to try and help. And that's what I tried to do. Unfortunately, I couldn't convince the public sector to get our counties to collaborate. The argument I had at the time was, Lancashire has got 80,000 businesses and it's every man for themselves. It is all about he who shouts loudest. Where is the collaboration in this county? On top of that, we've 14 authorities, 2 unitary authorities, 3 chambers of commerce, the LEP, the FSB, all of this great stuff in Lancashire that most people couldn't see. And that was my frustration. So I really wanted to encourage the public sector to work collaboratively and with all those different councils and groups and pots of funding to centralise it and make it much easier for business. At the time, I was told only an idiot would try to connect this county. So step forward, idiot. I quit my job. I took voluntary redundancy. I stood in the middle of Lancashire and I launched Lancashire. Lancashire, a spin on the county's name because it was about sharing and not shiring. And I definitely wanted to try and connect my county and leave my kids in a better Lancashire than I'd brought them into. With 20 years and a really good reputation with businesses, I embarked on talking to those businesses and telling them what this new platform was for. It was a digital platform that sat in the middle of Lancashire that everybody could access, completely free to use. Only businesses would join us with a small annual membership fee to share. What could they share? They could share as much as they like. News, businesses, products, services, events, jobs, offers, funding, networking groups, training, properties, you name it, they could share it. Our platform was structured so that all the tenders were together, the networking groups were together, the funding were together, and people started to flock to our site as this little resource pool began to fill. Within a year, we were multi-award-winning Northern Powerhouse partners, and Lancashire businesses certainly pinned their colours to the Lancashire mast. I was so pleased, but it was a mammoth job. You know, we had a small number in comparison to the 80,000 businesses that were here. So we started to think about how we would grow that. Out of nowhere, Manchester businesses came knocking. We want to start sharing too. And I said, but you've got devolution and a combined authority and a sense of community spirit. You don't need it. Yes, we do, because the funding's separate and the jobs are separate and the tenders are separate, and it's much easier if they're all in one place. So we launched Manchester, and then we launched Cumbriashire, Yorkshire, Merseyside, and it just continued to grow. Last year, we launched North East Share, 4 counties under one umbrella, our fastest moving region yet, because every business that joins us shares it. If you don't want to join us, they're completely free to use. And the beautiful thing about that is every single click goes towards a local business. So if you're looking for products, services, jobs, events, it is our business content that you are clicking on. And we track, measure and promote all of that. We expand our businesses' digital reach, sustainable reach. We encourage them to work locally, ethically, digitally and sustainably. We've been doing that now, we're in our 8th year. Something happened to us back in 2020, of course, to all of us, which was the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, we braced ourselves like any other business. But as we were operating on the internet, and you can't close that, we did fine. In fact, everybody was encouraged to get online and do some business. So guess what? We flourished again. Many businesses flocked to us despite the other tragedies of the pandemic. We did okay, but we managed to help a lot of businesses in that time as well. The second thing that happened in the pandemic was my youngest at the time was 16. She'd been revising for her exams. She was about to sit those exams when school said, go home and don't come back. No exams, we'll guess your results. No prom, send your dress back. Don't say goodbye to your friends, you're done. They rang me up 18 months later and said, whatever happened to her? I said, she's still in a bedroom. Because I couldn't send her out for a job because everything was closed, and I couldn't send her to college because they were online learning and closed. So we had a real challenge. Within the next few months and weeks, it became apparent it wasn't just my daughter. Hundreds of businesses contacting us for different things, but about their children and not their businesses. Is there anything on the platform for my son? Have you got any links to mental health? Are there any youth jobs? It became apparent that there was a bigger problem. Members that were education, so colleges, universities that were also part of our membership also began to ring. Why is nobody applying for our apprenticeships? We've been sharing our jobs. And we could see a decline in the numbers of views and clicks and impressions on those jobs. So anything that was youth related wasn't getting as much traffic. It became apparent to me that whilst the government had done a really good job at looking after businesses and putting mental health in the workplace and business loans and all of that in place for us, they didn't really do much for young adults. The kickstart was there, of course, which was 2 billion off Rishi Sunak. However, it actually displaced a lot of young people that were on traineeships in legal and other places went and got a 6-month job in a warehouse because it paid and it was open. So it did displace a lot of people, and without being rude to employers, because they are the very life breath of what we do, some took advantage of those young learners and got free labour for that period of time. So we knew there was a problem, and our platforms were capturing that problem in terms of data and analysis. So we made a suggestion to a couple of thousand businesses. If we built a national youth platform, would you share to that too? Jobs, internships, work placements, careers advice, life skills. If you're a mortgage advisor, teach my kids how to get a mortgage. If you're an accountant, teach them how to budget. Share. That's all we're asking you to do. We'll make it completely free, we'll add it to your membership, and we'll make it free for everybody else. Today, our national youth platform is national award-winning and helping tons of young adults. It is completely powered by our businesses and it is completely free. I put an application into Innovate UK and secured a smart grant to have that funded, and we've carried the cost of it ever since. That platform is our social value pendulum that swings underneath the work that we do. Back to the share sites, we now find ourselves in 9 counties with a national youth platform, and of course looking at our own growth plans and how are we going to get this, because we've done 9 counties in 8 years, which was great, but there's 100 counties in the UK and I've certainly not got 100 years left in me. So how do we speed this thing up? We tried various things, franchising, licensing and all sorts, and they just weren't the right model. And we re-looked at that. And at the time, it was then moving into 2022. And that year, something else happened. First of all, we started to realise the hugely sustainable impact our businesses were having. So when we looked at our Lancashire platform and analysed the data, we'd connected hundreds of businesses and recreated tons of local supply chains. We'd shared thousands of jobs, but with local people, and we'd reduced unemployment. We'd created connections with charities to embed social values. We were feeding future generations opportunities through the youth platform. Everybody was working locally, ethically, sustainably, and online. And we created this wonderful virtual business environment where from the comfort of the desk, they could buy, sell, connect, recruit, find funding, win business, connect with each other, whatever it took. Having realised that sustainable impact, I began conversations with a sustainable accreditor to see what do you match and ask businesses for when they're going through sustainable accreditation. And it turns out, well, if you buy locally, if you sell locally, if you connect locally, if you help charities, if you help your community, if you help the youth, guess what? They're all sustainable. So pretty much you would get accredited for everything that our membership does. So we decided to go in partnership with CSR accreditation last year, and we added their badge to our platform. At the back end of 2022, the UK government released a new procurement bill. And in that procurement bill, it committed the government to procuring sustainably. They already had a local spend target, an SME spend target of 33% of every pound to local SMEs. And that target hasn't been hit for many, many years. And so the sustainable target came out and we realised there was a huge gap. We had conversations with central and local governments and put to them that we love that you've committed to procuring sustainably. We actually share your tenders. In fact, we've shared over 1 billion, if not more, direct to our members' inboxes on a weekly basis. So we share tenders every week. If you're in Birmingham, you get the Birmingham tenders. If you're in the North East, you get the North East tenders. If you're in IT, you get IT. If you're in construction, you get construction. So we feed the tenders into our platform and they are filtered out based on your location and your sector. We'd shared over 1 billion and that was great because we kept millions at local level, but we realised our members didn't have bid support. So we included bid writers in our platform and our membership. Our membership starts at £150 a year. It cannot be beaten anywhere. At the back end of that year, when the government committed to procuring sustainably, we contacted them, as I said, and suggested that there was a problem. It was great that they'd committed to procuring sustainably, but the UK doesn't have a sustainable supply chain for them to procure from. And poor SMEs were now hindered because the tenders we were sharing on our platforms began to be weighted based on your sustainable standing. I get it, the UK is legally bound to climate change targets, but putting a weight on the tenders just hindered businesses because they are still dealing with pandemic, Brexit, inflation, energy, and the cost of living to start thinking about sustainability. There's a huge education piece. They don't realise what sustainability is. And there's a need to create a sustainable supply chain across the UK quickly. So we wrote another application to Innovate UK and suggested we could turn on 9 counties that are operating sustainably and recode them. In other words, if we see that Carol puts a job on and that job goes locally, we'll give her a green point. If she connects with another local business and they do business together, we'll give her another green point for creating a local supply chain. If she works online, we'll give her a green point because she's not putting carbon into the air. And there's all these different areas of our platforms where we can give green points. For that suggestion to create the UK's first sustainable marketplace and accredited supply chain register, I won the Women in Innovation Award with Innovate UK last year. And we've spent the last 12 months pulling all the platforms together, embedding all of these separate counties and the National Youth Platform. And next week, we pull the button on going national. It has been an absolute joy. We get to help thousands of businesses. We get to leave a legacy for future generations. We get to all contribute sustainably. Nobody has to join us. They can use it for free. And I think I've got the best job in the world. So I'm Lisa Edge. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope it was of use.
Wow, amazing, 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 amazing. I can't say enough how amazing it seriously. It's so wonderful what you've created, Lisa.
Thank you.
And it's true leadership. It's thought leadership more than anything else. It's beautiful what you've done. And I'm sure there will be questions for you towards the end, but thank you so, so, so much
Very
for
well.
sharing your journey with us, and what a powerful, empowering journey as well, from where you started to where you've got to. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And now we're going to move on to our next speaker, Richard Scott. A little bit about Richard. Richard has dedicated his life to helping others achieve peace of mind and life on own terms. Leaving his many-decade background in boardrooms of well-known corporates, developing the next big thing, he's made it his life's mission to focus on worthwhile good causes, helping develop the next big difference and make their actions truly worthwhile. Working with countless charitable causes, supporting everything from social care to pets, from those escaping abuse to those seeking mental support, and from veterans to zoos. He brings his knowledge of business, technology, and supporting anyone doing the right thing. Always ready to be hands-on to help, he has been instrumental in the creation of many great products and services, such as Medical Alert Wearables, a platform that encourages charitable transparency, to a business accelerator that guarantees success, turning ideas into a rewarding reality. As an international speaker, author, mentor, and all-round genuinely helpful person, we are pleased to welcome Richard to our stage with a talk designed to get you to stop and think in a way like never before. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and I want to sort of say it's a pleasure to be invited. So thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. When I speak, I normally like to use a lot of humor because it makes talks entertaining. It helps people to remember things, to relate, to reflect. And perhaps humor is also my way of escaping and dealing with the challenges that we each face. It's great to be around fun people, let's face it. And for me, humor is often the best medicine, unless you actually need penicillin, which in that case simply can't be laughed away. You can't laugh your way out of sepsis. But we don't all have coping strategies available to us, but we've developed our own coping strategies in order to be able to help to deal with what life throws at us, when sometimes life can be too much. And so I'm not here just to bore you with my life story on how I survived an abusive marriage and what it did cost me and the price that I nearly paid. I'm not here certainly for a pity party, because life is too short. And we've all seen that if we've actually ever lost anybody close to us. And so I'm also here not to bore you with PowerPoint, even though I have it up here just for probably my own entertainment as much as anything else, but just sit back and relax as I take you on a little bit of a journey that hopefully will change your perspective on some things, and will also help you hopefully to better support others in need, especially those people that you'll find that are trapped and unable to escape something that I'm going to talk about. And so, sure, as well, everything that I'm talking about was inspired by my own journey, of living with a narcissistic abuser, how it cost me my children, all the money I had and more, my health, my self-esteem, and nearly cost me my life too. But how I've eventually turned my life around, hopefully some people might benefit from that, but it's really not about me. In 2020, that famous year, which I'm sure will get mentioned quite a few times, I actually helped to launch a charitable organization helping people who are victimized by narcissistic manipulators. And if you don't quite know what that means, the narcissistic manipulator piece, don't worry, because for a long time, neither did I. And what exactly is a narcissist? The reason I never knew for so long was because I actually looked in the dictionary, but that's a longer story. So let's start with the current dictionary definitions from Oxford, Cambridge, and Merriam-Webster. Yep. They all talk about self-admiration and excessive self-interest, about arrogance and conceit. To me, that's an egotist. It's not a narcissist, because narcissist is something very, very different. And in fact, where it comes to self-admiration, it is almost the opposite. So these definitions couldn't be further from the truth, and yet that is what we all face. And as a result, one of the missions with our CIC is to change those dictionary definitions. And so those long outdated dictionary definitions have to go. And the fact that they're so wrong actually caused me to make some bad choices. Here is what I think is a better description. Someone who uses coercive techniques to force others into choices between bad and worse outcomes. And hopefully that will, if nothing else, stick with you at the end of this talk. Think of someone who's always got their own way. Think of someone who thinks the world is just revolves around them. It's their own personal playground, if you like. They don't actually recognize others as individuals. They manipulate rather than mediate, and they don't care about anybody else's actual best interests. For what it's worth, any form of abuse, and I mean any form of abuse, uses narcissistic coercive techniques to get what they want. And the ultimate question I hear often is, why me? Why did I let it happen? And I say it's like a Venus flytrap, okay? It lures you in and you gradually become trapped with no escape. For me, it was potentially a stupid hero complex, always trying to help others. And I saw someone that appeared to understand me who needed support, and I invested. Emotionally, I invested. Then I became trapped as my self-esteem was eroded, and there was no right time to escape for 101 other reasons that we don't have time for. But the more you try to help a narcissist, the deeper you get drawn in, and you find yourself struggling with why you. So I've come up with a little short formula that will help people take stock. Oops. And that mathematical formula sums it up perfectly. Get over why. Yeah, do you like that? You can go around and round in circles trying to figure out why, but it's time to get over it. It won't get you anywhere. And if you think that couldn't apply to me, think again. This can apply to anyone. I didn't choose to be a victim, I guess, or an enabler for their behavior. But when I woke up, I was really certain of one thing. I wanted to choose to be a survivor because it really did nearly kill me. But how do people get caught by this con? Just like any other con. Yep, they invest and then they feel too committed to withdraw. You double down and you kid yourself that you're doing the right thing by sticking at it. Yep, and the more of a genuine, caring, sharing sort of person that you are, the more you commit and don't want to give up on trying, especially when you're led to believe that you've become the common denominator of all your own problems. So you start to blame yourself while digging yourself deeper and deeper. We can all be lured by something: connection, love, fortune, opportunity, work, the promises we've made. So if you're someone who actually cares about others, then you are vulnerable to becoming a puppet. To a narcissist, trapping people is part of a game. It's often unconscious, as it's a learned, refined skill that they've just always done. So they never know any different, which means when challenged on it, they feel victimized. So to a narcissist, life is just a series of games to get what they want. And if you don't know you're in a game, you make the perfect patsy. And I guess in some ways, very, very sharp, very, very dark ways, if it wasn't for the excessive pain that they cause without care, you could almost feel sorry for them for lacking that empathy. But how does a narcissist actually gain control? Here we have a 9-step formula for narcissistic control. Yep. First, they find people who are genuine, caring people, anyone willing to help others. The more that they try, or the more that you try to help them, the more they can get their hooks buried in. They build trust and pray to gain that investment, as in prey on people rather than prey in any other way. The more they invest, or more that someone invests, the more they become controllable. And this gives them that ability to hook them in even deeper. They also test compliance through behavior, through checking for obedience, if you like, to those who are keen to please. And that gets people more and more and more invested. They also cut ties and create dependencies. So they become the only reliable rock to cling to in a storm. even if they're the ones making that storm. Yep, they erode your self-worth constantly. So you start to doubt yourself and you prioritize everything from them and anybody else, as you doubt yourself so much that you feel that your opinions are worthless. And you start to feel then guilt and shame as a direct consequence when you think you couldn't be any lower. And so the narcissist control then goes to the leveraging. It comes to the ability to then figure out what the negative motivation is and wield it strongly. And applying pressure, whether it's financial, guilt, loneliness, whatever it might be, negative pressure, negative motivation, gets applied, leaving you so focused on dealing with the problem that you're too busy to ever challenge them. And besides that, your self-worth makes you doubt yourself anyway. So you're on this emotional roller coaster. You hear this compliment, then insult, alienation, then affection. And imagine trying to live your life while also being stuck on an extreme, always fast-moving roller coaster. That creates a coercive control over you. Yep, with the leveraging of those hooks. And the more strings, the more control. And so if you notice that pattern in anyone you know, or anyone who is actually being victimized by a narcissistic manipulator, please take note. Yep, fear is the most common denominator of all abuse. It relies upon it. All abuse uses narcissistic techniques. Yep, and narcissistic abuse relies on fear to gain control. It's the fear of the consequences. I mean, I, for example, was afraid of not finding someone to share my life with. I'd come back from working in Hong Kong and I had so many wonderful memories and nobody to share them with. At the time there was no internet. It was long before Instagram was even thought up, and everything just felt hollow. So I was naive in my early 20s and hadn't learned to properly enjoy my own company. Yep, I've obviously evolved a lot since, thankfully, but at the time, I just wanted somebody to share my life with, which is quite a common thing to want to do. And so, being vulnerable, I met a narcissistic abuser, and I didn't know what that even was. I had no clue. And that appeared to be a mirror of all that was important to me. I felt somebody really understood me. And that was the first hook of many. So once the children came along, I did everything for them. And it was my greatest fear ever, was clearly losing them. And this became that constant threat that somebody of that nature that you face. And it's something that a narcissist will use in that context, day in, day out. So I lived under that constant threat, and there was nothing I could do. And at that time, coercive behavior wasn't illegal either. So here's a question for you. If abuse relies upon fear, what is the diametric opposite of abuse? Answers in the chat. I would love to know what you think it is. Most people seem to think that it's love or peace or something else like that. But I want to challenge you with that one and say, maybe the direct opposite of fear is actually choice. To be more specific, freedom of choice. Think about that for a moment. What is fear? It's the opposite, the choice that we don't want. So freedom of choice allows us to find and select the choices we prefer. And you may wonder, how can you escape a narcissist if you meet one? The secret is to realize as soon as possible. The longer it takes, the more the damage. So avoid them the minute you realize. Minimize any contact by stepping away slowly, very slowly. Yep. And then run. Yep. Identify anything with the potential to be used as a weapon against you in terms of what you're afraid of most. Yep. Be prepared for scars, because the freedom does have that price. Yep. And as I said, run. It's so important. It's worth saying twice. And you can't win with a narcissist. The price to your humanity is far too high. And there are times in our lives when we suddenly wake up to the world we're living in, to the compromises we've made and the fear that influence our behavior. And I've had many such moments in my own life. In 2008, I started studying NLP and even became a trainer back then, even though I've long since moved away from that. This challenged my values, and it brought to the surface lots of things that were broken in my life. And the more I digged, the more I unearthed. I wasn't allowed to have my own bank account, for example, because, well, why do I need one? She had one because, well, she'd always had one, but my sole account became a joint account. And so I didn't need one anymore. Well, what was I up to? Surely, it was my fault for actually wanting one. And so I just let it go, as with so many other things, because I didn't want the confrontation, because I didn't want the challenge. I mean, I've never been unfaithful in my life. So the statements of, well, you want it because you want to hide your spending and you're going to do all of this stuff. You know what? It's easier for me just to give in and move on. And that's what I did. And that was another hook, another opportunity, and another bit of leverage. And so realizing that something was wrong occurred. But what do you do when you realize you've got all of these hooks in you? How do you let them go? I was constantly made to choose between things I didn't want, choose between seeing my parents ever again or being allowed to keep living with my children. I had to keep working 18-hour days in order to meet the spending outgoings or go bankrupt. It was a constant amount of stress, which even caused my appendix to blow up, and even some of my teeth ended up falling out with stress. And that's not a pretty thing to consider. But the deeper those hooks, the more the scars. I tried to escape so many times, but each time I was made to feel so guilty about it that I just didn't, because I don't want to let people down. And each time I tried, it became harder. And I just accepted the fact that it was harder and I wouldn't do it. So there seemed to be no escape until one day I had no other choice. I just couldn't take it anymore. And I tried to minimize where possible that damage, because anybody who ever tries to escape a narcissist has to try to do that. And when you're still hooked, it makes it even harder, especially if you share things like children. And so the escape almost broke me, because basically it was that constant annihilation threat. It even had me at one point, and you'll probably all laugh at this, it had me paying for all of my ex's bills, paying for her to go on holiday, paying for my ex-mother-in-law every month, and so much more, because the consequence of not doing that was that my children will be moved away from me. But when the time was right, that's exactly what she did, 350 miles away, for somebody who'd broken every contact order that had ever been written. And so having a narcissist in my life when I was trying desperately to get away from one was not something that I could get away with. Not something I could actually have. I'd alienated every single friend that I'd ever had, the ones from Blackburn College, the ones from university, my Czech side of the family, everybody, because they weren't right. They weren't making an effort with me. And it was easier for me to just step back and go along with it. And this was all part of that road to rock bottom, which everybody has to go through if they want to get to the other side. Every small change wasn't enough to tip the seesaw, and that's what a narcissist relies upon. So it's like a frog on the boil, not quite hot enough to cause you to jump out, and then it's too late. And so this was my chance to escape. And so that's exactly what I did. But it wasn't great when I escaped. There were still so many hooks, so many ways that I was hooked, but I still hadn't hit rock bottom. My children had sort of turned to me, and rather than me travel the 1,400 miles that it took on the weekend with no sleep, lots of stress, and even caused me to fall asleep twice at the wheel, they'd sort of said to me, we're not going to be told by any court what to do at the age of 14 and 11. And what do you do then? Suddenly I'm not fighting with my ex-wife anymore for seeing my children. Suddenly I'm fighting with my children, and that's enough to almost break you. So it really was all gradually killing me. And I'm lucky that I never actually had an accident, when I fell asleep. It's just one of those things that you look back on and go, how did I let it get so bad? But ultimatums were commonplace. I spent over 100,000 on legal fees alone and associated costs just to fight for contact. And now suddenly they didn't want me. So you can imagine my self-esteem still not hit its rock bottom. Many times I'd wake up in the world and I'd look at what I'd compromised. But where do you go from there? So as a Christmas present one year, I actually got for my daughters, before they'd actually they'd said that they didn't want to see me anymore, I'd actually booked a skiing holiday. I got cheap flights to Bulgaria, and I was looking forward to going there because we'd been there several times before. So I ended up going without them, with some friends, but without them. And I was very, very sad when I was there, clearly, that they weren't there to share that time with me. And by the time that I was going down the slopes, and then suddenly I find myself in a position where I'm night skiing. I'm the last one on the mountain, and I'm zooming down the slopes. And I'm sending photographs of the speed on my watch to a friend of mine who's actually back at the hotel, not night skiing. And I'm going round and round, faster and faster, straighter and straighter, faster and faster. And I sent him this picture, the one that you can see on your screen now. I'm good at skiing, but not that good. I'm not 105 mile an hour good. And that's what I just clocked. And Steve had said to me, just stop, he said. Just stop. So I called him up and went, what do you mean? And he went, are you trying to kill yourself? And I went, well, no, of course I'm not. But if something happens, it's not my fault. So what I'd even inadvertently done is I was willing to put my life on the line because I'd actually lost all care for it. And that still wasn't rock bottom. So I escaped that mindset without killing myself. But I'd lost my kids. I'd lost everything I owned. I'd plunged into debt. My children were now rejecting me. I had that constant threat from the finances. I had a testicular cancer scare, the death of my best friend, seeing everything there. My relationship was breaking down. Her health was being impacted as a consequence of it all. And it all just came to a head, literally to my head. And I had a nervous breakdown. It's the sort of thing that people have said to me, like, I'm surprised it took you that long. But that was the rock bottom for me. So literally shaking and quivering and not able to hold a single thought. It was time for me to reevaluate everything. And I mean everything. And I realized that the more you lose, the more you lose. There was nothing more that could be taken from me now. And survival would have to be my own reward. And so I look back on it now and I realized just how low I had got because I'd let those hooks get buried into me. And what I've discovered is that there's so many others who all have their own story. When is the right time to escape? And it's such a common thing among men and women, among everyone. It really is an equal opportunities sense of abuse. But what do I do now? Well, I was determined to get life on my own terms. So now I help run this charitable organization, Respect for Me, helping people victimized by narcissistic manipulators. I help run a business accelerator to help people get life on own terms. I even help to run a pet sitting agency so people can relax, enjoying doing what they like, being paid to use other people's homes as their office and enjoying life on their own terms. A social enterprise, and various other things that I really, really enjoy. And so I was determined to come out of the other side with as much as I can in terms of life on my own terms. And if you get a chance, the one thing that happens quite often is people say to me, what can I do for you? And for years, I never knew what to say. So now I'm saying, just follow us on social media. I've just put up those 2 pages and activated them today. So I'm going to start actually making more of an effort to actually start to connect, but do reach out to me. But most importantly, those 2 those dictionary definitions that I pointed out earlier on, they're not right. They do need to be changed. And people can avoid abuse if we understand about fear. Back to you.
Wow, wow. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing, Richard. What a journey. Beautiful. And how you've turned it around. You're right. And I mean, narcissistic abuse, any form of abuse, but domestic abuse particularly, is so widely spread. And I normally say that if all of us got up today and started working to make a difference positively, it will take us a couple of centuries before we made it an even playground for men and women, you know. And thank you so much for all that you've shared here today. And all the very best for all the ventures that you're on and more. And of course, I'm going to connect with all our wonderful speakers today, but I'm sure there will be loads of questions for you at the end. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to our next wonderful speaker, Karen Ratcliffe, and a little bit about Karen. Karen's greatest strength is her ability to foster a relationship of trust with her clients. Her clients sometimes return to receive her guidance. Recognizing the healing power of shared experiences, Karen will be promoting a support group and workshops where women can connect, share, and create their boundaries and redefine their life philosophy. In Karen's world, vulnerability is a stepping stone to resilience. Karen is a compassionate and dedicated health and wellness coach on a mission to guide women through the transformative journey to acceptance of what cannot be changed and a commitment to the leader that they want to become. She helps them to define their personal life philosophy and then live it. How wonderful, Karen. I can't wait to hear what you've got to share. Please take it from here. Thank you.
Okay, I've prepared some slides, a little like Richard did. Mine, I'm afraid, are not so creative as yours. My story does resonate, Richard, a lot with you, but I was the child who experienced some of the similar things that you did. And this is why my journey took its path and I became the person that I've become. So I'm just going to set this share screen up and we'll begin. Okay, I don't know why it's showing all of those. Let's just do that. Let's see if it will. There we go. Okay. What I'm going to be talking about is my story, but it is about building resilience to reduce stress, because Richard's already hit on this a little bit about the importance of when you are facing adversity, because it's overwhelming, generally there are issues of stress. So I first want to bring you to this information from the burnout report of the Mental Health UK. It's really important because it gives you a picture of what's going on in the UK at the moment. And if you look at this, 1 in 5 workers, that's 20% in the UK, needed to take time off work due to poor mental health caused by pressures or stress in the last year. 9 in 10 adults, that's 91%, reported that they'd experienced extreme levels of pressure or stress in the last year, and 34% of adults reporting experience extreme or high level of stress, 5% always and 29% often. So it's building a picture that in the UK at the moment, a lot of people are under pressure. And particularly, I find this next statistic really important. Adults aged 35 to 44, that's 95% of them, tended to experience extreme or high levels of stress more than any other age group. Now, when we think about that age group, what we have there, and also the facts did show that women showed a higher amount than men did, and also students. But what it's showing here is that this is the time of life when women return back into their careers after children. Also, you have elders who, might need a little bit more support, and possibly also there's not a lot of support for you, especially if you haven't got a good network around you. So, it's building a picture. But what I'm going to add to this is my story, and I'm going to bring you through at the end to come back to just think about this with the information that I'm going to give you at the end. Okay. So the introduction. My name's Karen. I am a survivor of domestic abuse at home as a child. I grew up in a home where I was the eldest, and my early years, I can remember mum and dad arguing and the conflict. And my later years, I can really remember, and I got involved in some of the, the conflicts that went on, which were quite debilitating for me, but You know, as a child, I took responsibility for that. So keeping secrets and learning to lie was a thing that I became brilliant at. We were not allowed to talk about anything that went on in our home outside. And if we were asked, we were told to lie. So I became very good at this. I hated it. It didn't feel right for me, caused me to feel very guilty, very ashamed. And I think I was feeling the early beginnings of some real stressful symptoms. And as I grew into a teen, I took a lot of responsibility that was not mine to own, but I didn't really have a choice. No matter which way I looked at it, I had siblings that needed care. And the thing was, my belief system basically told me I was unworthy of love. And that went on for many years into adulthood. I felt like there was something wrong with me. And as I developed in my story, I went into this belief system that allowed me to start thriving and flourishing. You are good enough, and here's why. And I took up journaling. I was about 17, 18, I took up journaling, and I began to explore who I was. Who are you? What do you want to be responsible for? And some things I knew I didn't want to be responsible for. And the other thing for me was about communication, no misunderstanding. Now, this is something I put together to help tell my story. This is me here feeling abandoned. As far as long as I can remember, I was alone. I didn't have friends. I spent a lot of time alone. And apparently, I found out from my gran, I had two very, very imaginary friends who I used to spend all my time with. And as I grew into a teenager, what was happening at home meant I felt very isolated. I couldn't talk to anybody about it. I couldn't tell anyone, couldn't even tell my friends. And because of my home life and the conflict and the disorganization and, well, it's just chaos, I used to feel untidy. I used to feel, like I was different from everybody else. Other people seemed to have nice mums and they got dressed in nice dresses and things. And there was always me who always felt like she was just out of place. So this picture is because I used to spend a lot of time at the local park. I used to wait till it was empty and I used to just go and spend some time there by myself. I think I learned from a young age that reflecting and trying to make sense of things was my way of trying to build some form of resilience to what was going on. So that in my way, this was my little tough place. Even though I didn't feel tough, I felt absolutely, well, alone. Now, here is a picture of me feeling disgruntled because as I approached my teenage years, my mum wasn't coping and she began to drink a lot. So that's why the bottles are staring you in the face. They're quite large. Because for me, I used to go off to school on most days, because some days I didn't go to school. And I used to come home dreading coming home. I used to stand at the end of the gate and I used to think to myself, what is greeting me when I walk in that house? And often when I walked in that house, my mum would be in a state. She she needed some care, some looking after, some cleaning up. The other children hadn't been looked after. And so, I came home with my homework, but what's homework? I haven't got time for that. And I took over the mum role. And I was 17 years of age. And I just got to the point where I just thought to myself, enough. I've had enough of this. I found all the bottles of booze, even the ones that had been hidden, and I poured them all down the sink. Well, that didn't go down too well. And basically, I was ejected from the home, which is why here there's a picture of me. I was homeless. I had nowhere to go. A couple of people offered me a few nights on the sofa. I cannot, even now and the work that I've done on all of this, just thinking about this, it was a period that it was really difficult. I had nowhere to turn to. And because I'd learned to be the helper, and I'd taken on all of that responsibility. The one thing I was no good at doing was asking for help. And so I've got a picture of, me sitting here going, help, please, because that was like a massive step for me, because actually asking for help was something I didn't really know how to do. Anyway, I went to the Department of Health and Social Security, I think it was called, and they helped me to get into what we call now a HMO. And that in itself is another story, because when I arrived, I really was frightened. But ironically, that was the one step in my life that actually led me to my career in the criminal justice system. Because at that time, I got to meet other people who had lives that were pretty chaotic. I came across people who were involved in drugs, had various other problems, and I got to sit and talk with them. Sorry about that, that's gone back. And for me, I think it was something that I'd shelved. Those experiences I shelved for later. I ended up in domestic abuse relationship, and I had to learn about self-care. I had to learn to put myself first. And that's exactly what I did. And I met this brilliant man who became my best friend, who I later married, and we had a family. And there's me getting my first degree after I'd had my children. So I just want to go through this, because the reason I talked about the stress earlier on, and Richard's alluded quite a bit to some of this, when you are somebody who's experienced historical child abuse, it basically can lead you to situations in your later life that maybe if you hadn't been through those experiences, it may not have happened. So here we got 51% of adults who were abused as children experienced domestic abuse later in life. 1 in 5 adults, 16 to 59, and this got me. An estimated 6.2 million people had experienced some form of abuse as a child. Of those who were abused by a family member as a child, 36% went on to be abused as an adult by a partner or an ex, and 41% of those adults had a child at home. And this statistic really bothers me, because it says 34% of those who witnessed domestic abuse as a child went on to be abused by a partner. They use the term witness domestic abuse. I can tell you that most children who are involved in a family where there's domestic abuse are not just witnessing it, they're becoming involved in it. They are taking responsibility for it, and it really is hitting them quite low, and it affects their life. So where am I today? Well, I have had a career in the criminal justice system. I've also done lots of community projects, lots of research for organisations like the CAB. And I've pulled all these skills together. I was trained in CBT while I was in the criminal justice system. And I have began coaching people. I've trained as an accredited coach, and I use what I call it's being a coaching practitioner, because I use therapeutic tools with coaching. And it's taken all of my life's experience, all of my training, all of my skills, and this is what I put together. Because I know for sure that when you have experienced this chaotic adversity, resilience can be so difficult to build. We come across as if we're resilient because we've learned to hide our true feelings. We basically put on a mask, go out there and do what's necessary. So what I've been trying to do here, and I've been working with people on this, is to try and research what was needed with my clients. And I've come up with this because self-care for self-love is so important. It is your starting point. If you don't have the self-care, then it affects your ability to take on those difficult decisions and actions. Self-regulation and mindfulness I'm very good at meditation. I've been doing this now for 20 years, breath work, also emotional regulation. And I do a lot of that with people, and the somatics that people, when they experience it, and they can feel those pains or those stresses in their body, and their mind and the body connects. And it is an amazing thing when somebody says, I get it now. My body's been pointing to this problem for ages, and now I know I can do something about it. I think that is amazing. Strengths, acceptance, and compassion. When we understand our strengths, we understand what it is we must let go of, what we can let go of. And the acceptance of that is the most freeing experience that we have, but it can't happen without self-compassion. So, and for a lot of people who've experienced adversity, self-compassion is not something they are used to. We get wrapped up in that guilt, which leads to shame. And, you know, we try to hide so much. When we know our strengths, we've got our self-regulation, we're doing our routine self-care, we're ready to set those boundaries, we're ready to assert ourselves, know what we will accept and what we won't accept, and how we are going to present that without being aggressive and without being submissive. And when we culminate to the end of this, our life philosophy is sitting there staring us in the face. We get to write it, define it, declare it, defend it. We get to go out into the world feeling that whatever has happened in our past now is in the past, and we can move forward feeling holistically alive and ready to experience the rest of our life. And so I want to thank you all for listening. I know, you know, I've gone through that pretty fast. These are my connections, and I will post them later. So thank you for listening to me, everybody. And let me tell you that we can survive anything if we are willing to do the work and take some time to accept what we have to let go of. It really is important when we're building resilience. Thank you. I just have to stop sharing this now, don't I? What have I done?
Okay, I can maybe try and change this.
There we
There
go.
we
It's
are.
on.
Okay. Oh, wonderful, 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 Karen. What a powerful story. Thank you so, so, so much. Amazing stuff. And absolutely, you know, whatever you've said about abuse and, you know, what people go through, the stages, how they feel, the shame and the guilt, which takes over anything else that these people may, you know, have experienced, and how much of work and resilience and tenacity it takes to come out the other end and be here sharing your story and showing others the light as well. Amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. Thank you. Please do share your links in the chat as well so that people can save them. Richard, Lisa, and Peter, can I ask you to do that as well? And if anybody else wants to share them so that everybody can connect, please do the same as well. And now we are moving on to our final speaker for the evening, Peter Weinberg. Peter is an author, educator, and life coach specializing in heart, health, and self-love. Mr. Weinberg is also an international speaker, helping people to have the freedom to live their healthiest and happiest life. He is also the creator and owner of Freedom Land, love this name, an education company helping to bridge the education gap between graduation and adulthood, specializing in great wisdom about life and life's journey to heart health, freedom, greatness, love, and happiness. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello from Freedom Land, Montreal. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. I just wanted to say that when I met Carol last summer, you know, I was really moved by this to really have a chance to talk about my whole life story and how it could really help you. And so this is the first of this presentation I've ever done for anybody. So I hope you really enjoy it. So let's take a show of hands. If everybody can come on screen, put up your right hand if you want more health in your life. Put up your left hand. You want more freedom. Put up both hands if you want more happiness. And let me see that big smile. Come on. Both hands. All right. Let's see. Do we have any gamers in the house? We're gonna start my presentation. Wait a minute. No. Do we have any gamers in the house? We do. Oh, I love it, Karen. Thank you. So let's play a game with health, freedom, wealth, and life. Let's talk about the biggest problems in the world. And how are these numbers related to the biggest problems in the world? Anybody want to put anything in the chat? You can share in the chat if you've got any idea. Karen, you and I are going to connect on the 20. Well, there are 2 world wars. Let's face it, these are the biggest problems in the world. There's a lot of hatred, and there are a lot of wars going on now. There's probably too many going on. Well, 10 has to do with the percent of society we've got suicide and poverty. Karen, I was thinking of you for this one. We got 20% mental illness, 25% no money saved, 50% divorce, 60% disease, 80% at risk. How about 97% of people don't even set goals? Thank you, Google search, when I did that a few years ago. And how about 99% of the population don't even know what they want in their life the most? Now just take a moment and have a look at that. Isn't that quite breathtaking? So I ask myself, you know, what's the elephant in the room? You notice what's going on in this image. There's a lot of people sitting in this boardroom, and nobody's actually even paying attention. Nobody's looking at each other. Nobody even has eye contact. Nobody's talking to each other. Nobody's happy. And there's an elephant in the room, and nobody even knows that. And in fact, look at the elephant. The man on the right in the blue shirt, the elephant is literally right on top of this guy with his husks and his horns, and nobody's actually paying attention. And what is this elephant doing in the room? Well, the elephant is causing us to have less health, to be more sick, right? The elephant is preventing us really from having our freedom. The elephant is not allowing us to have the happiness that we want. And so what about life and life's journey? Isn't it all quite confusing? And let me say this at the outset, nobody should be upset with themselves because, you know, it's not your fault. You know, when you graduated from school, what did you really know about life? What did you know about health, wealth, relationships, communication, goal setting, right? So just take a step back, take a big deep breath, and enjoy this journey this afternoon. And so today, you know, I wanted to let you know, in my life, of course, I didn't have this education about life. And of course, it led to a lot of pain and suffering for me, like a lot of other people in this room. And could everybody just mute themselves, please? Thank you. And so, you know, my You know, a lot of people talk about their pain can turn into their passion. That might be a new message. It could be an old message, or your mess is turned into your message. And I thought, after 10 years in the CEO group, through my 40s, one of the things that I learned was there's no traffic on the extra mile. And I asked myself, what could I do to go the extra mile? I said, well, what if my mess became your miracle today? Can we get any thumbs up if anybody would like to have some miracles in their life today? Yeah. All right. We got a couple of thumbs up. Thank you.
Please
So,
add, please add.
yeah, please meet yourself, Ian. Thank you for being here. So I asked myself, you know, what is this thing called life? And I'm going to just take you on a quick journey of my life and some of the highlights that kind of led me to where I am today. You know, as a kid, I loved to do sports. I picked up a golf club, a baseball bat, a hockey stick, and I was off to the races. I loved to do puzzles and models. And at the age of 8, I actually got my mother to stop smoking. I drove her crazy by giving her articles in the newspaper to stop smoking. She yelled at me and eventually she stopped because I told her they were not very healthy for you. And as a teenager, I loved to juggle. I was totally bored in school. My favorite subject was recess. And I used to go and grab apples and oranges out of the kids' lunch bags, and a couple of friends and I just started juggling. And I eventually got on stage and actually won a gong show when I was 17. So I think that was a clue that maybe later in life I would be on stage somewhere. And I became a tennis instructor and a tennis pro, and I had the gift of teaching people how to play tennis literally in 5 minutes. And I studied accounting. Dad said you're good in math, so why don't you become an accountant? Well, I became an accountant. I loved the education, didn't like the profession, took the easy route out, went into the family printing ink business, and really, I thought as an accountant, I literally was going to knock it out of the park. I knew everything about life. And of course, as you could imagine, I had a lot of messes and a lot of pains. And I ended up always running away to higher education and to sports. And I ended up with a 10-year CEO education. And on that road, I hit some lows. I had disc surgery. And when I was 26, I had a disc that compressed against a nerve. I lost all the feeling in my left leg. So when I was 26, I thought I was going to die. 2009, I had a concussion playing hockey. I couldn't function or work. We had to hire somebody to run my printing ink business, and they stole from me, ran my business into the ground. September 12th, 2012 was the worst and best day of my life. It was the day that I had to declare bankruptcy, and it was also the day that I got liberated to do what I wanted to do, but I had no idea what I really wanted to do. And I went through bankruptcy and depression, and that's when my journey began into the medical system. Okay. And boy, have I got a story for you in the medical system. But my journey then began in the summer of 2015. I came across this famous quote, and this quote really moved me immensely. Henry David Thoreau said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with their songs still in them. I said, well, I had been to a psychiatrist who actually used to fall asleep 40% of the time on me, gave me, I had, I was on drugs to help me to calm me down. They didn't actually work. I had a psychologist who was helping me. And so I was trying to find my way, how to find out who I am and why I'm born and what I should really be doing in my life. And so I didn't really understand, what are men quietly desperate about, and what do they go to the graves about? What's this song that's inside of them? And I eventually figured out it's man's struggle with happiness. Well, what are we unhappy about? After all, the Dalai Lama says the real purpose of life is to be happy, right? And so when I look back after 10 years in a CEO group, I had a chance to analyze this, and it took me a long time to figure this out. I asked myself, well, what's the cause of all the world's problems? It's communication. Let's face it, people don't know how to talk to other people, and where life begins, people don't know how to talk to themselves. But then I asked myself, what's the root cause of all the world's problems? It's education. And we are just not prepared for adulthood. I studied accounting, and how prepared was I for adulthood after I graduated? In fact, when it comes to communication, we process 60,000 thoughts a day, 98% useless, 85% negative, and 80% repetitive. Well, I got to thinking, hey, what's in the 2% space? And then when it comes to the education system, well, I discovered that the education system is segmented, it's fragmented, it's disjointed, and it's all over the place. And it's teaching one piece at a time. And if you're familiar with Maslow's work, it's actually a lot of the education is actually focused on the top of the pyramid. The school system doesn't really touch much of this at all. And I said, what we really need is better education system on the foundation of life. Right, Karen? I see you nodding your head. Thank you for that. And then I found myself in the summer of 2015, it was May of 2015, looking for all the answers. I ended up with, anybody here of Tony Robbins? Well, I did the fire walk and burnt my feet. That didn't work. But Tony said, we were born with this supercomputer between our ears and no instruction manual. I says, all right, I spent thousands of dollars. I'm there for 4 days. I am really excited. I want to hear what Tony Robbins has to say with the instruction manual with a supercomputer between our ears. Guess what? He didn't have anything. So this was brewing in my head for just about a year. And Freedom Land was born. Freedom Land was created. Freedom Land is an education company dedicated to teaching people about great wisdom and bridging that education gap between graduation and adulthood, specializing in great wisdom about life and life's journey to heart health, freedom, greatness, love, and happiness. Here's a quick video I put together. Oh, wait, can you hear that? Sorry. I'm sorry, I forgot. I have to share the sound. Hold on. Let me just do a screen share with sound. There we go. We'll get right back into it. You hear that okay now? Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Weinberg, author, speaker, and transformational coach, as well as the founder and owner of Freedom Land, an incredible place that will help you to have what you want in your life the most, your freedom. So what's in a name? Freedom Land. I say just about everything when it comes to what you want in your life the most. Freedom Land's broken down into 5 parts. Free, the D, the O, the M, and the land. Free, of course, stands for your freedom, what you want in your life the most. The D, what are you going to do in your life to get your freedom? The O, working on your life. It's a plan of your life to get your freedom rather than working in your life. The M is the me. It's the person that's most important to you in your life. And the land is a place where you're going to go to learn about all this, where all the magic's going to happen.
So my dream and my vision was to help people to get educated, to get on this journey of life, because so many of us are not on a journey, right? And, you know, as they say, if you're not going somewhere, you're not going anywhere. And I wanted to help us to go from confusion to clarity, certainty, confidence, and competence about yourself and your life's journey. I wanted there to be transformation. I was tired of going to see speakers who left me, quite frankly, upset, the inspirational and the motivational speaker. I wanted transformation. I wanted to go listen to somebody, and I never wanted to come back the same person. This is my transformation. And I started writing a book. I said I wanted to teach people. Actually, the story began with in 2013, I was doing a personal mission statement with my psychologist, and he said, go out and do a personal mission statement. You're going to reboot and start your life over. I had to go on the internet. I found Franklin Covey, 10 question number 7 changed my life forever. And 10 and a half years later, this question is still in my head, and it has helped me. I got out of depression like this with this question. And if you have a pen, I see Ritu, you're going to write this down. What is it you would do in your life if you had all the time in the world to serve humanity and the planet? Now I'm reading this question. I said, bam, education. I said, I just want to teach people stuff, right? And it was like 60,000 confused thoughts in my head. One word was syringed into my head, education. And literally, this was July 5th, 2013. It literally lit up all my chakras. How do I know that? Because I used to go to bed late and I sleep in at 5 a.m. For 2 weeks straight. I got up and I rode my bike at 5 a.m. I discovered who I am, why I'm born, and what I got to do. But it was only one word. I said, I'm going to teach people about freedom. And I started to write this book. I wanted to teach people about life, liberty, and happiness. I wanted to help people to go from what I discovered, thank you, Stephen Covey, that there are 2 roads in life. I wanted to help people. Look at this. It's a transformational journey of self-communication. How could you talk to yourself to get off of the road to mediocrity and get on the road to greatness, right? And when I originally designed this book, I didn't have this right side over here. That was kind of me in an accounting, my suit, really frustrated with work, not knowing what to do, where to go, whether I should jump or, and then I found out there are 2 roads in life. This is the big picture, right? And if we knew where we were and where we had to go, well, wouldn't that really help us out in life? And so I'm actually doing it in a unique way. I'm doing it in a 10-word puzzle. And so 11 months after I saw Tony Robbins, I had my first moment of epiphany. It was April the 8th, 2016, 8 p.m. at night. I was parked in the parking lot in a grocery store, and it was thundering and raining and pouring. I couldn't get out of the car. I rolled down my window. I look up to the sky. I say, dear Lord, please help me. I'm confused. How do I communicate life, liberty, and happiness in the fewest words? I got my top 10 words. These are the top 10 words I think. These are the greatest values for humanity. A lot of them come from CEO school. And as a kid, remember, I loved to do puzzles. And with about 7 minutes, I took these 10 words and I put them in a puzzle. This was actually the beginning of the book. And I said, well, what does all of this mean? Well, these words individually don't mean much, but I can tell you that if you master these 10 words, you could literally change everything in your life. So this puzzle, as you see, has a line down the middle. There's a left side and a right side. The left side this puzzle represents you and your life. The left side represents your life on the outside. The right side represents your life on the inside. Well, the school system does a terrible job on the left side and doesn't even touch the inside. Why? No wonder why a lot of people are going through, emptiness in midlife, right? And so then I started putting the words in the puzzle, and they started to have more meaning. And so 5 words actually go on the inside, representing a life of fulfillment. 5 words on the outside, representing a life of achievement. Now, isn't that cool? There's an inner ring, a middle ring, and an outer ring, a left side and a right side. The 2 most important words of all humanity go right in the center. Now, if we have any gamers in the house, I think I saw, Richard, you put up your hand. 96% of people would say love and health. I suckered people into that. I made those big and juicy. But the real words are focus and passion, right? Thank you, Lisa, for your smile. And so focus is the inside cornerstone of your life. It's the health of your mind. Passion, it's the inside cornerstone of what's inside of you. It's the health of your heart and soul. So, and the way the puzzle works, it goes directly on the inside, goes clockwise. Master your inside, master your outside, 10 words to life, liberty, and happiness. I'm building a course on this, and the book is not out yet. I do hope to get this book out later this year. And so, hey, my mess, could that turn into be a miracle for you? The 10-word puzzle. Are you ready? Do we have a drum roll here, Ritu? Do we have a drum roll? This is the drum roll moment. Guess what? Could this be my mess turn into your miracle? Could this be the instruction manual for the supercomputer between your ears? Let me see if I can see Carol. Carol, do we get like a reaction there or what? No? All right. So I think inspired by Tony Robbins, I think that this is a pretty good instruction manual as I've been brewing it over the last 8 years. The more and more I review it, the more and more I think it's going to really change a lot of lives. And then, so that was April of 2016. October of 2016, well, wouldn't you know it, I ended up at the emergency of the Montreal Heart Institute. I had some pressure on my chest. Thank you, Karen, for that heart. And I was a 57-year-old fit, non-smoking, non-drinking athlete. I look at my father. I said, what could it be? I said, I'm never going to get sick. I've never been to a hospital before. Well, the doctors tell me that not only was I born with heart disease, I needed urgent major surgery. I had a couple of years left to live, and I was at the highest risk of having a heart attack. So I had an aortic valve. You know, when your heart pumps blood, your aortic valve just opens and closes. Well, my aortic valve, picture a door opening all the way. My door was only opening 1 inch. No way you can get through that door in 1 inch. And I had no idea. And at that moment of death, I said, wait, I'm not ready to die yet. I said, I haven't even lived my life yet. In fact, I don't even know what life is. What I really want is to start living my life. At that moment of death, gave birth to this book. Of course, at that moment, I didn't realize it. And this book just talks about 4 words: start living your life. If you knew who you were, I wrote this on the right side here. I kind of spilt the beans. Hey, if you knew who you were and you know what life is, could you start living your life? Yeah, I see Ritu smiling. Yeah, well, I didn't know who I was, and I didn't even know what life is. But what if I shared that with you? Would that be of interest to you right now? Yeah? You want to know who you are? You are a soul living your life as a whole person. Thank you, Stephen Covey. You are a whole person, body, heart, mind, and spirit. You know, and I know some people have gone through divorce here and breakups. And I think the problem with marriages is that we're not wholly connected, body and heart, mind, and spirit. And by the way, in my book, I gave us an acronym, Bahamas, body and heart and mind and spirit. Are you guys with me on that? You are a soul living your life as a Bahamas. Well, where are you going? Greatest journey. Thank you, Karen, for that. Greatest journey of life, which I eventually figured out all these pieces, is from the head to the heart. Okay? The greatest journey is discovering love for other people. But where life begins is how do you love yourself, right? So what is your greatest journey? It's really about taking your Bahamas on a journey. And I have another famous quote from a not so famous person. That's me. I think your health is your true wealth. And if you want more wealth, you really need to achieve your heart health. And I really believe that your health is the foundation of your life. And we're all born with our health freedom, and we're all taking this health thing for granted, right? And we're waiting until disaster happens. And so I want to bring this to people's attention. Wait a minute. Do we have a second miracle in the house here? Me too. We have miracle number 2. Well, what could miracle number 2? Could my mess turn out to be your miracle? Well, let's see. Well, if you knew who you were and you know what life is, you could start living your life. You are a soul. This changes everything. When I learned this, it changed everything for me. I started living my life differently. I'm going to master my Bahamas, my body, my heart, my mind, my spirit. and I'm on a journey to my freedom. And that's why I named this company Freedom Land. Because 97% of people don't even set goals. And for 6 months, my head was a complete mess. I couldn't function. I'm going to die. I can't think straight. I have heart disease. I'm born with heart disease. I can't function. I couldn't find a book. So I wrote my own book with a basic introduction to heart disease awareness and prevention, the basic stuff. I mean, don't you think you need to know something about the most important part of your physical body? Thank you for clapping, me too. And while I was waiting for my heart surgery, I was watching the movie The Bucket List. Anybody see the movie The Bucket List? What do you want to do before you die? I said, I don't have any hopes and dreams. I never really did. I said, but I'm a big tennis guy. Remember when I was a teenager, I was a tennis pro and I could teach tennis in 5 minutes. I said, wow. I said, there's a big opportunity. If I did have this dream, I would represent my country for the Maccabea Games. That's the Jewish Olympics, the third largest world event behind the Olympics and FIFA soccer. 10,000 athletes from 90 countries. Would you believe that? I said, wow, that would be a dream. This was 3 months before surgery. 3 months after surgery, rehab began with a blood test. And I got reminded how high my cholesterol was. And I'm going to say this was the beginning of my journey. And I went on a journey for 2 years. I said, I just fixed my valve with open heart surgery. I want to fix my cholesterol because I wasn't paying attention to my numbers. I didn't even understand them. I didn't know what to do. And I went through between 2016 and 2019, I consulted with a dozen doctors, dietitians, and nutritionists, begging them and pleading with me, helping me to lower my cholesterol. They couldn't. I ended up getting invited to go on live TV just before COVID with my book and my story. I found a Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn who said you can normalize your blood cholesterol in 2 weeks. Well, I threw on an extra 2 days. And this is the miracle of my life here. I figured out how to become my own doctor. And I like what Karen talked about self-care. I was able to normalize my entire blood cholesterol in 16 days. And I was starting to lose faith in the Medicare system because I went on to have 7 bouts of gout, an elective prostate surgery that didn't go very well. And I started this journey of really discovering, how do I take care of myself? Because the medical community couldn't help me to prevent all of these diseases. And I had a strong why. I have an uncle, my father's brother, is in a wheelchair, collapsed 14 years at the Houston airport, exercised, worked out, had, his weight was good. He had all the money in the world. I wonder what happened to him. His life is he's lost his freedom. Then 7 years later, the month before I entered the hospital, my first cousin had an aortic dissection. He's in a wheelchair. I'm surrounded by friends and family. And so over the last 7 years, I've created a secret heart health formula. And I'm calling it Heart Health Mindset, which we don't generally have, plus Heart Health Lifestyle. And I split the life and the style. The life is finding out what's going on inside of you, doing an echocardiogram. The style has to do with nutrition, exercise, and supplements. There's a whole big movement. There's a whole small movement out there of lifestyle medicine that people just are not paying attention to. And there's 2 principles in lifestyle medicine. Number 1, the body can heal on its own. Just let it. Well, if you cut your finger, it's going to heal. But if you keep cutting it over and over again, it's not going to heal. Principle number 2 is there's no neutrality when it comes to your health. You're either on the road to disease or to health. And by default, we're all on the road to disease because remember that school system that doesn't really teach us much. And so it's up to us really to get on this journey to healthcare. And so 6 years after my surgery, a year ago, I discovered this image and it said, this is what's going on inside our bodies. We have all this plaque and this inflammation, and it's restricting blood flow, oxygen, nutrition. Would you believe in everybody's body, your veins, arteries, capillaries span 100,000 miles. That's 2x the circumference of planet Earth. And this is not just heart disease. Look at this, chronic related diseases, cancer, autoimmune disease, and the rest. So it came up with a 5-word, my theory of what health is. Because I asked doctors, what is health? They say, we don't know. Take a pill. Go get a surgery. I think where blood flows, health goes. And we should be on a way of life to prevent heart disease by reducing plaque, inflammation, and alkalizing our bodies. That's our best defense, is a great offense, right? But it's very hard to get people's attention. And as we near the end of this presentation, I share this with you from business school, from CEO school. You hear a lot of people talk about, who are you? You are what you think, Lisa. Richard, you are what you eat. Karen, you are what you believe. Ritu, you are what you digest. But the greatest speaker in our CEO group said, the human mind is the controller of all that we do. And its second greatest ability is to analyze. The mind's greatest ability is to imagine, is to dream. It's to envision this life, this beautiful life. Remember, this life, it's really about from your head to your heart. It's all about discovering love for yourself. And if you really, truly love yourself, and you now know that you're a soul living your life as a whole person, body, heart, mind, and spirit, you want to get on this journey of loving yourself. It's all about your heart health. So, does anybody remember this slide? I see Richard's smiling. Well, do you know what you want in your life now? What are we, 23 minutes later? Do you know what you want in your life the most? Your freedom. What goals do we really have to set? Life's highest and most important goals. It's your health freedom and your financial freedom. The foundation of your life is your health freedom. By the way, I got two numbers for you. You want to achieve your health freedom. If you get your LDL below 2 millimeters per liter, for our American friends, if you get your LDL, your bad cholesterol, below 80 milligrams, and you get your A1C, your hormone, your glucose hormone, your A1C below 5.2, you could literally prevent disease and heart attack proof yourself. If you study your Bahamas and you find somebody who has connected with you, body, heart, mind, and spirit, you can actually get onto a great relationship and prevent divorce by getting on a journey of saving money and making money. That's the best way. Mental illness, if you could process fewer thoughts, there would be less poverty, less suicide, and you would love yourself and you would share the love with everybody else around you. 9 months after heart surgery, I decided I was going to embark on my dream. Thank you for smiling, Lisa. I hired a trainer, which I wanted to do my whole life. I trained for 3.5 years. I made the team, and we know life has its ups and downs. I landed in Israel with COVID. Okay, the first week, I couldn't play singles. I had chest pains. I was rushed to the hospital. I was kept in the hospital overnight. I actually left the hospital. I spent most of the entire games in the hospital and quarantined in my hotel room. I literally left the hospital. I ran to the tennis courts. I played Argentinians in my first doubles match. I went on to win a bronze medal. And I'm going to say this: life is precious. Life is short. 64% of men and 50% of 64% of women, 50% of men have a heart attack without warning. So if you wait, it could be too late. I say start the journey to your heart health, your freedom, greatness, love, and happiness, so that you can live the life of your dreams. And here's my medal. I'm going to put it on my neck. And this story is not about me winning a medal, because you never expect to win a medal, but I have a story to tell to inspire people. Why do you want to get on this journey? It's for only one reason. It's to live a life of your dreams. My vision is to have people take control of their life and their heart health, living their healthiest, happiest, and greatest life ever. My purpose and passion is educating and coaching people so that you about your life and your life's journey, right, to heart health, freedom, greatness, love, and happiness. My mission is to help people to achieve their freedom, their health, and their wealth freedom. Of course, your health freedom is the foundation. I'm going to help you to achieve optimal heart health, increasing blood flow, oxygen, and nutrition throughout your body, heart attack, proofing yourself. So we're on to the last slide. These are the programs that I have I've launched in 2023 Heart Health Mastery, which is an 8-week program for your physical heart. Launching Start Living Your Life, a 6-week program for your emotional heart. We're going to achieve optimal heart health, heart attack, proof yourself, extend longevity. I'm going to help you to master the 10-word puzzle so that you can master your life. And I'm going to put this link in the chat. How about this? A complimentary miracle consultation. I'm Peter Wainberg, and I am your heart health coach.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing, Peter.
Let me put on my medal. Hang on.
Go on then. Go on then.
You know,
Beautiful.
I have this medal. At 64, it's not ego. This medal is a memory that should inspire you for the rest of your life to live the life of your dreams and share this moment, share my story, because I don't have anything. I'm on a personal mission to inspire people to live their healthiest, happiest, and greatest life. And if you could create a dream and live that dream, there's nothing greater than you can do in your life to get up in the morning. And my dream right now is to help to create the most free men and women in the world. And that's what I get up and I do every day. I hated science, chemistry. I'm now enrolled in a 6-month program at the Institute of Nutritional Endocrinology. I bring the surgery and the athleticism into heart health, and now I'm learning about the science. And I just learned, you know, the metabolic unwellness. It affects 93% of Americans. And metabolic unwellness, if men and women are overweight and have an A1C over 5.2, that's your glucose receptors. It's just wreaking havoc with all of your organs and glands. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. I'm going to put my information in the chat. If you would like to meet with me, if you know somebody who's in need, book a free miracle consultation. I just added that in last night, so I thought I'd get a smile and let my mess become your miracle. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing,
Are there
amazing,
any questions
amazing
in the
stuff.
chat?
So we will open the floor to everyone in a minute. Let me just thank you properly for all the wonderful shares that we've had. And just in this short space of time, just about not even 2 hours yet, but we've had so much sharing and such powerful shares. I mean, isn't it amazing? Richard talks about living life on your own terms and talks about how fear, it doesn't oppose, the opposite of fear is not love, but freedom and making a choice. And then Peter comes in and he talks about creating that freedom land of creating the choices. And then there's Lisa creating opportunities for everyone. And what an innovative, beautiful way of connecting communities. And then there's Karen, empowering people to take back their freedom, their true power, and apply it to live their own life with love and freedom and beauty. I just want to say a big heartfelt thank you to all our wonderful speakers, and I'm not going to be in between your questions and the speakers for any longer. So if you have any questions for any of our speakers, please unmute yourself and share them, ask them. Even if it's a comment, please feel free to share that now.
Can I ask a question? Okay, Lisa, first of all, since you were the first, I'm going to ask my question to you. I live in Cheshire, which isn't far from Manchester. I sat listening to you thinking, my goodness, why hasn't Cheshire got involved in this?
Cheshire.
Cheshire, yeah.
It's coming next week.
Brilliant.
It is
I
coming.
will look out for that.
Well, then let's stay connected. I just didn't have a strong connection base in Cheshire. But as we've grown, we've done so with ambassadors, amazing ambassadors who are the boots on the ground in their own county. We benefit them. They get free membership. And then we ask them to do is share it. And it just grows because everybody's into that same ethos. And if we get any of those greedy people that say, well, how much can I get? And how many can I share? And how many connections can I have? I said, well, you sound like a taker rather than a sharer. So why don't you use it for free?
Thank you.
Use it if you don't want it, you know? we know what we are, and it's a really nice place to be.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask Peter, how old were you when you got that medal, Peter? Did you say?
This was summer of 22.
Wow.
It's just last summer, not the 2 summers ago. Yeah.
Very impressive. I mean, you've
Yeah, at the
clearly
age of
put
63.
you've clearly put your mindset on it, and it's very relatable, a lot of the things you were talking about, and I love exploring all those kind of sides. In fact, just last week I explored some regression for another day, maybe that one. But congratulations, Peter, because that mindset and that focus, it reminded me a little of Joe Dispenza as well as Tony Robbins. So
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Peter, can I ask you a question now?
Sure.
You talk about heart health and about the sugar and the cholesterol and the fats. So where do you stand on fasting?
I was in the news today that as well. Positives.
Well,
and
I do it. I do the 16-8.
Right.
Well, here, I'm going to put something. This is the keyword that you should look in the chat. If you want to know why you should fast, anybody know what autophagy is? Anybody not know?
Autophagy.
Autophagy. So if you want to, the real reason why you should be fasting is to literally let your body heal and clean itself out and clean out the dead cells, right? And so autophagy is that process where the body does its own self-cleaning. And so I've learned in my network, people doing, 7-day fasts, 20-day fasts, even 40-day fasts. One guy did 7 years in a row, 40-day fast, 7 years in a row. But what I learned is autophagy is if you actually learn a fasting and you get to clean out your body. So the program that I'm in, I just finished 2 weeks ago. They have it a fast while feasting. So what is fast while feasting? It's actually a reduced calorie 5-day fast. So, and this was created to mirror a real fast, like just a water fast. So if you're eating certain types of foods, you could literally, and I did the 5-day fast, and I lost 1.5 inches off my waist. I lost 4.5 pounds in 5 days. It was like nothing I had ever experienced. We did it as a group, and I'm going to create that course for people. I'm in another program now where I'm doing my insulin receptor reset, right? So I know my glucose has been going up a little bit too much. So if you could just, like I gave you those 2 numbers, if you could get your A1C below 5.2 and your LDL below whatever 2 millimeters per liter, 80 milligrams, you could literally heart attack proof yourself and, ward off heart disease and chronic illness. But autophagy is the real reason why you want to fast, right? Karen, does that answer you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I joined a group where we only eat for a few hours a day, so that we stretch the period where we don't eat in the 24 hours. So we have a smaller window. And I've noticed such a massive difference in energy level, my ability to sleep. It does feel like it does a lot, even for a few hours more of not
Right.
eating. Most people do for like 10 hours, don't you?
Right.
Well, I do it for like 16 to 18 hours of not eating.
Right.
And just drink a lot of this water.
Right. The autophagy really kicks in on day 3. So if you can actually get to and I did a fast while feasting, so it's 1,100 calories day 1, and it was 750 calories days 2 to 5. It's really not many calories, but it was designed to mirror a real fast because starvation is not really what we want. But if you can really get it up, day 1 is the hardest. That's why they give you a few more calories. But when you get to day 3, you really see the autophagy really setting in. And they even recommend doing it almost once per month to really cleaning and healing your system. And so this is all new for me. And I am loving it because we're never taught, right? How do you clean your body? How do you heal your body? How do you clean out the dead cells in your body? Like, there's so much we need to learn about our health. So that's actually a great question, Karen. Thank you. I
Any
do
other
recommend
comments or
fasting.
questions?
Yeah, I just a comment really for yourself and for Carol. Just great event. You know, it's so nice to hear such differing stories, and I think there was a sort of intertwine between them all.
Absolutely.
You know, we talked about
Richard sums it up really beautifully in 4 words, didn't you, Richard? I saw it on the chat. Opportunities, choice, freedom, empowerment.
absolutely. And then when you couple that with Peter's communication, education, I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do: share and educate, put everybody on an equal footing so that we've all got the right to do as well as we can. Spent too long in the public sector with selfish people holding everything back, and I am going against the grain in every way I possibly can, and thoroughly enjoying the ride.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be able to share what I do with you. Every day I set out to share with one more person, and today I got to share with plenty of you. I will be connecting my emails in the chat, guys, if anybody wants to connect. Happy to put the LinkedIn in there as well. Happy to support any of you whenever you need it. And brilliant 3 other speakers. I kind of feel a little bit like I underdressed for a party now. No presentation to give you a focus. You all had to look at me. I'm so sorry.
It was all beautiful. Thank you so much. And I just will take this opportunity then to say a big thank you to all our wonderful speakers, to everybody who decided to spend their Thursday evening with us and share their beautiful energies. If anybody is watching later, feel free to get in touch, contact, and keep in touch anyways, regardless. Keep sharing, keep supporting each other. And before we finish, I cannot help myself but say a big thank you to Carol, our lovely Carol, who has made this effort and spent all her energy to bring us together. She finds beautiful, brilliant people every single time and does not fail to amaze us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.